Hello, my name is Mike Gray and welcome to another 5-minute message. You know, in Roman society, your stature was based upon where you were as far as prestige and your position. For example, Nero, of course, the highest there was, being emperor, his council would be right there in high esteem. Then it's based more on your position, like being a senator or something like that, or the money that you had. And all of that dictated what type of life you could live and how you were honored in that society. And this is the same society that the apostles grew up in. They understood this type of hierarchy. So as Jesus was doing his ministry, they asked him a very pertinent question in Matthew 18 because they didn't understand the truth. And that question is, who's going to be the greatest in the kingdom? In Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 4, I think Jesus' answer surprised them a little. It says, "At the time the disciples came to Jesus saying, 'Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?' And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, 'Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in heaven.'" So it wasn't prestige or power that made you the greatest in heaven. It's being humble. And he said, you must be like a little child. And that's amazing. When you think about it, the humility of a child really signifies who we should be. For example, when I was a child, if something scary would come up, I would hide behind my dad or my mom for protection. I wouldn't go out there and try to handle it myself. But what do we do when we face trouble here on this earth? Rather than going to our Father in prayer and asking him to help us and to protect us, we try to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps and say, I can handle this. And we try to take care of it ourselves. In Psalms 62, verses 5 and 6, we read, "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence. For my hope is from him. He is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken." That's who we should run to in times of trial. Not to try to handle it ourselves, but to turn to God and look for help and have him protect us. Children are also wonderful because they have this need to serve, to help, to be helpful. And you see them all the time. In fact, when I was a child, I was the family remote control. My dad would say, son, turn the TV to channel 13. And I'd walk over there and I'd turn that channel to TV 13 because we had the old dial TVs. That's what we did. We understood that as part of our role. But as we've become adults, we almost feel like now people should serve us, and we kind of get away from that. In the book of John, chapter 13, verses 12 through 16, after he got through washing their feet, Jesus said this, "When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, 'Do you understand what I've done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, and for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to also wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should also do just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him.'" By example, he's teaching us that we as children of his children, should have that same servant's heart, that desire to serve and help others. And that we should do like he did and help others on their way, make their journeys a little bit easier, make their life a little bit better in any way that we possibly can. And finally, one thing about children is they know their place. They don't think of themselves greater than anybody else. In fact, I had a wonderful example of that this weekend as I was preparing for this and other things on Sunday. My granddaughter came in and brought me a bowl of popcorn and M&Ms, what she calls delicious. And I thanked her for it, and she left the room. And that's all she did. And I went about my work. About a half hour later, she came back in and saw that I had finished, and she took the bowl and left. And I again thanked her for it. And she wasn't looking for praise. She wasn't looking for payment. She wasn't looking to gain anything from it. But she understood, and she was there to help. In the book of Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, it says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourself." You see, I've always heard it said, it's God first, everybody else second, and me third. We must become like little children. We must learn to trust God and go to Him for protection. We must learn to serve one another. And we must learn to be humble and understand that other people's situations are more important than ours, so that we can be like children. After all, Jesus said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like little children, you will never enter into the kingdom of heaven." May we all become like little children again, full of love, full of hope, and full of wonder. Thank you for watching.